Folks, welcome to a very special episode of Fitpod today. And in studio, we have a wife, a mother of two autistic children. And I want to know how she runs her day because, frankly speaking, living with two autistic children must be very, very difficult. And please welcome Saba. Saba, thank you very much for coming, first of all, and taking your precious time out. I know you're a busy person. We've been trying to get this podcast sorted for a while, but obviously I tried to bail you out this morning as well, but it didn't work.
No, it needed to happen.
How are you? Good?
I'm good.
How's family?
Thank you
How's
so
children?
much for having me on. Everything's really good, yeah.
You know, I've been trying to get this episode, not this exact episode, but something to do with mental health. I've been trying to arrange it with somebody, but it just wasn't happening. But how is it living with two children who are autistic? Just a brief message, because I do want to go into detail with this. And I believe it's a very important subject today. And I'm quite nervous, to be honest, because I don't want to say something wrong or in a way that it comes across wrong.
Okay.
So you need to help me out on this one as well. So you got to educate me and as well as people listening.
Okay. The short answer is it's hard.
Yeah.
But with the right coping mechanisms, with the right support, it can be made easier.
Is that the husband at home or?
The husband,
the coping mechanism.
The coping mechanism, yeah. No, I do. I'm very lucky to have a very hands-on, supportive husband. We do everything together.
Yeah.
And we've, in our journey, met other parents with autistic children, and we realised that's a really common, very important thing where the parents understand it's a two-man job. I think it is generally anyway. I don't think being a parent is easy.
I can't see one person doing the whole thing.
No, and it was right after my son was born that it became apparent that this wasn't something, because I'm quite self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And it's something I think my husband would say about me, that I tend not to need much help when I do things. But as soon as my son was born, there was a shift in, we both need to do this because it's just too much.
You know, early days, and when did you first notice signs of autism, or did you know it was autism, or would you just how did you find out, or when did you realize that hang on, we need to let's get this checked out because it's just not normal?
So I am a qualified social worker.
Yeah.
So I've had experience with autism before. I've had training in it. I've already was aware of this neurological condition, and I started to see traits very early on in my daughter Leah. She was quite young, and I saw traits in her, but we weren't too concerned because as soon as she started nursery, actually no, it was reception, she flourished. So that really helped her, socially speaking. With Doa, it's a very different story. So with Doa, I started to notice traits around about the age of 2, and then we requested for an assessment to be done at his 2-year checkup. And the paediatrician at the time agreed because he was showing quite obvious traits, more than Leah ever did. And at that point, because of my social work background, I already knew that it'd be very hard for me to get support for him like straight away. And also in my mind, I knew that early intervention is the best.
Yeah.
So we decided to not wait for the local authority to offer us any support, because I knew that he at that point didn't have a diagnosis, so it wouldn't have come easy. So we decided to go private and get a speech and language therapist, because it was around about the time that Dode should have started to say words and he wasn't speaking. In fact, he was stimming quite loud, so there was a lot of screaming, there was a lot of hand flapping, there was a lot of walking on his tiptoes, there was a lot of repetitive playing with toys. So it had the one toy and he would play with this toy for hours on end. We could be busy somewhere else and we walk in and he was still playing with it. But he was walking physically, he was fine, but there was a lot of tiptoe walking and as in ballet style, so his toes were kind of under and he would be jumping.
Oh wow.
So this was the first thing that I saw and I thought, that doesn't look right. And he wasn't feeling any pain by it, he was actually enjoying it. Obviously, I learned later on that it's regulating him, so he kind of needed that feedback on his toes. So that pressure was actually making him feel better. So he would do that all the time. So it was just little things like this. So when we got the private, went private for a speech and language therapist to come, because we thought communication is probably the most important thing here. She came over and she tried to work with him and wasn't even able to get him to sit. So she said at that point, I'm so sorry, like I can't work with him. Have you heard of ABA therapy? And I hadn't at that point. And I was thinking, I said, I haven't. And she was, I've got a number of a consultant. Here's her number. And then I called up this lady, and she till this day now is my son's consultant, and he's 9. Wow. So we've been having ABA therapy for about... ABA. So that stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. So they're basically behavior therapists. And we paid privately for 2 years, and for the time that he didn't have a diagnosis, nor was he under the local authority for education or anything. So we, in that 2 years, ABA, one of the reasons why it works is there's so much data involved. They're regularly recording everything. You can see quite clearly if it's working, if it's not working. So we had so much data, and by the time he was then ready to go to nursery or reception at that point, we really wanted for the ABA therapy to be part of his EHCP plan. And that's a plan that's given to children who are not going to function as neurotypical children would at school. So they need a specific plan in place to help them get an education, basically. And I wanted the ABA part of that. I just didn't realize how hard it would be. It's something that's very hard to fight for. Really? The local authority refuse to put it on.
Why do they refuse to put that out?
Because it's very expensive. So this is one of the main problems, really. If they had their own in-house ABA therapists, it would probably make their life easier, but they're yet to do that. So at that point, it was like, we're basically asking them, I've got this independent company working with my son. Can it be added to his plan? And then can you fund it? So that's basically what you're asking. And in that situation, they say no.
Wow.
So they have an educational psychologist involved, and they come and assess your child, and then they tell you what they think your child needs. At this point, my experience wasn't very good. Yeah, so I kind of went with their flow. I thought, okay, you need to assess my child. You can, and I didn't realize that they have their own agenda too. So they're not particularly going to pick something that's more expensive for them anyway. So they still refused.
I kind of got that, you know, when you say, because it's expensive.
Yeah, so they don't want, and there are other, well, there's not much, but they'll tell you there's other stuff that they can offer your child. But really it's not, it's more down to having a specialist TA who then babysits your child while he's trying to then adjust in a school that wasn't made for him, in a class that wasn't made for him, and trying to make him be something he's not. Wow. But we fought, and the local authority decided to go against it. We then appealed, and we took them to court, and we won. It's so funny when I tell people this story, because it takes me a millisecond to tell you, but it probably took me a whole year to do it. So the whole process of, going to tribunal, evidence, we were just lucky we had so much data. So we had the evidence we needed to show that it's working. But it also required a lot of kind of phone calls, emails, and just making sure you had everything in place ready for this court date, where you'd have an independent panel of people who would then decide whether it was good enough for your child or whether he needed it, basically. And the local authority would have their argument as to why they think he doesn't need it, and then we had ours, and we won. So it worked out great.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
You think so? This is the worst thing about the local authority. They don't really operate through sense, and they don't operate in a way that you would want them to.
Well, that's why they got bankrupt.
Well, so this is
is what it is.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, parents are always going to know what their child needs. Sometimes they won't.
Ultimately, it's that gut feeling, and another person, an assessor, will never have that gut feeling.
Well, you think somebody's coming in to watch your child for half an hour max. They're just staring at him, and then they think they know what he needs. And then there's me saying he's had this therapy for 2 years. We've got data to show it's working. His progression has kind of gone up this way. He's doing amazing.
Yeah.
So basically it was because of the ABA therapy. He then had funny actually, he's had a head start. The company's called Head Start. So he had a head start in life because he had people in place early on teaching him how to be taught. And this was the main thing. And this is when we realized how important this therapy was, because it's not just, it's teaching him the basics, you're talking just to sit down and listen, just to pick up a fork, just to take your shoes off, just to put them somewhere, just to tell us you're hungry. You know, these little very, very simple day-to-day activities that neurotypical children will pick up without parents even noticing. They'll have to be taught it. So that's what I think was the hardest thing. And then, you know, it's not nice because you kind of are in this position where you're thinking, oh, I need to get him all the support I can get and I need to help him. But you also need to help yourself. So there was a point where, you know, my husband and I were like, we need to really accept this. And it was strange because I had no doubt in my mind that he was autistic, but he was then diagnosed at the age of 4. So obviously we had all this time to kind of think, oh, he's autistic. And then all of a sudden he gets the diagnosis and then it hits you like a ton of bricks because it's like, wow, he actually...
Yeah, that was my first, my next question would be, was how did it feel when your child was diagnosed with autism and it was official? Because, okay, working through the whole thing and until it's not on paper, concrete. Yeah. I don't know.
It was, you know, honestly speaking, life came crashing down. You start a grieving process because you are trying to accept a life that you weren't expecting to look after, you know, and then you're grieving the neurotypical child you thought you were going to have. Because there's no telling, no one can tell you that this is going to happen, you know, you just it's through Allah, isn't it? And you don't know. And then you have this child and you think, oh, well, this is my child now. I have to accept this. And it's much like grieving. So there's an acceptance stage, there's a anger stage, there's a, oh, no way, this can't be happening. Then there's an embracing stage.
Yeah. Before we get to the embracing stage, there must be a denial stage that it is, but it
see, for me, and this is probably kind of that, you know, I've recently been diagnosed and I understand why now my brain operated a certain way, different to my husband at the time. I'm very matter of fact. You know, when I see facts, I see facts. It's black and white for me. I never ever, I just thought, okay, he's autistic, that's it. He's autistic, I believe it. I knew he was, now I know he really is. He is, I need to get on with this. For someone like my husband who didn't have much experience with autism, obviously there's no autism in his family, not much knowledge on it at all. He had to really just rely on me saying, he really is autistic, you know, like I can see it myself, he is. So I think there might have been some denial there for Najib because it's a bit like, well, could it just not be something he's going to grow out of? And I'm like, no, once you're autistic. And then that's when you start researching. That's when you become an expert because you need to know everything about it so you can help this child the most. You know, my purpose in life at that point was I need to give this child the best chance at life. However, whatever it looks like,
whatever it takes,
whatever it looks like, it needs to be the best. And we had a good head start, like I said, with the ABA company coming in and supporting us. But then, you know, we're kind of juggling this, looking after ourselves, making sure we're good enough parents for him and being able to do what we need to do.
So when did you start your fitness journey and why did you start your fitness journey? Who for? Yourself? Yeah,
so Dawud is very strong.
He is, yes. I've had a few encounters.
Right? We call it the death grip. He's a little boy. I mean, he's 9 now, but obviously you met him when he was younger as well. And you know, obviously when he was 4 and he was diagnosed, he'd have meltdowns, and this is something that comes with autism. They have regular meltdowns, and it's due to like being underwhelmed, overwhelmed, understimulated, overstimulated. They just don't know how to regulate their emotions.
So anything that changes. So in that moment,
it comes across as anger, and they'll trash things, and they'll do all sorts. And in that moment, you know, one of the things we noticed is he's bloody strong. Like when he used to grab me, I couldn't actually. This little child who was like 4 would have me, and I was like, I actually can't get out of his grips. Like I'm stuck. And then Najib too would have.
I know a gym that might help.
You know, but literally to the point where like he'd be holding on to Najib's arm, and Najib could literally lift him, like they can say he's not letting go. And there was this realization that this boy's going to grow and he's going to get bigger. I need to get stronger if I'm going to be able to restrain him appropriately. Of course, because one of the things we do need to do is safely restrain him and make sure the environment's safe for him. Because he, in that moment, we call it the red mist. He can't see anything else. He's just like angry, and that's it. Move everything out of the way, let him have his moment and let him do it safely and keep everyone around him safe too. But he was incredibly strong, and I remember that. And I've always been into fitness. I mean, I remember being younger, I was just waiting to be allowed to join the gym. It was always just, oh, when I'm allowed, when I'm allowed. And then there was this whole new era of ladies only gyms, and I got really excited, and I was like, oh, I need to join them all. And then one by one, don't like that in there, don't like that in there. Ended up leaving them because of some funny reason of hygiene and just the demographic of people.
The dirtier the gym, the better it is. You get better results.
No, see, now for me, and this once again come back to my own autism, I need my environment to be a certain way. I found it now, thank God. But I didn't know then, but I did need a very specific environment for me. I like to be by myself. I like a clean gym. I don't like to be too busy. But yeah, so I started training then. Obviously, when I had my children,
gym member's nightmare you are.
No, I love my gym. I absolutely love my gym. But and you know, obviously, when I had my children, I was having to be a mum because when they're young, you know, that's all you can focus on. So I was very much focused on those and making sure that he was getting everything he needed. But then, you know, one of the things that my husband said to me, when he was younger and we really had no time to have a life, because we didn't. There was a point where we couldn't do anything because there was a point he wasn't settling in school. So his therapies were happening at home. So there was a point when I remember my whole world revolved around him and thinking, I actually don't have time for anything. And I think there comes a point in your life where when you are not able to do something, you realize how much you want to do it. And there was a point where I just wanted to work out. I wanted to move. I need movement in my life. I couldn't do it. And I remember Najib saying to me, you know, as soon as he starts at a school full time, we're gonna get a membership at a really good gym. We're talking a luxurious gym, and we're gonna really treat ourselves. And
I don't think he's joined. I don't think he's kept his end of the bargain.
No, bless him. He sacrifices the time so I go. But no, he has joined. We both joined, and he usually joining
and going, two different things.
Yeah. So he goes. He can go. He tends to do evenings, but I've got more of a morning read. But you know, it worked out, and I think those were so now he's 9. Okay, so he didn't start full time school enough time for me to then start my actual fitness journey till he was about 7. And that's when we were taking him in for about 9:30, and then we were picking him up for about 1:30 at that point. But it was enough time for me to go to a gym and do stuff. And then slowly we increased the time, and we're now currently at him going from about 9 anytime. Well, we don't force him to wake up, so anywhere between 9 and 9:30 he can go in, and then I pick him up for about 2:30. And that, for me, I didn't have it for years, so it's luxury. I can honestly tell you, it's been the best thing for me. And that's when I took a huge deep dive into fitness. And I realized then I can finally do what, you know, and you don't know till you can't do it.
Yeah, of course.
So now I appreciate it more than ever. And then I started.
And we talked about you becoming a kettlebell coach.
Yes. So
how is that, and why kettlebells?
Okay, so I need to start from the beginning. So basically, lockdown.
Right.
And you can't do much.
No.
And I saw this lady skipping on Instagram, and I went, oh my God, that looks really cool. And you don't need anything. You can just do it at home. You just need a rope. So I started to skip. So my journey started with skipping. I still skip till today. It's been 5 years since I've started to skip. Yes, I love skipping.
Are you expert in it?
I love it. Absolutely love it. I would say it's the one thing that has saved me. Because you got your best song on, you're skipping to it, there's a rhythm, that you're hitting the beats, you're moving. It's a bit like dancing with a rope. And honestly, I remember saying to my husband, nothing switches me off like that. I just go into a zone and I can skip for hours on end and just do it. So this is where it started. And it was great, you know, I lost a lot of weight. I became really fit. My cardiovascular was amazing. I could skip for hours, and I thought, this is getting better. I noticed a huge difference in my physique, in my stamina and everything. And it was great. But within that time, I made friends with other people who skip, and one of them particularly really liked kettlebells. And I said, and I remember her saying, you're going to love kettlebells. Like, you know how we like skipping. It's similar. You can't get bored of it. There's so much to do. So I decided to try it, and she was absolutely right. And I played around with kettlebells, and obviously I started to attend these events. So there's a Kettlebell HQ in Coventry, and these are essentially people who became really good friends of mine, and they taught me everything. And I'd say they're probably the best PTs you'll ever meet, because their knowledge is amazing. They've traveled the world. Well, Craig particularly, he's traveled the world and worked with all the best PTs out there and picked up the best information. And he's come back, and he was one of the first people to become RKC qualified. And he's also got his RKC 2, which is a level up. But this is what they do now. So they held a lot of events with kettlebells, and I started to attend them. And I noticed that I just had a kind of natural flair for it. And he just gave me a lot of confidence in that department. You know, he was very, very encouraging. Would answer all my questions. I remember the day I realized I really want to just master the swing. So I was sending him videos and videos of, am I getting it right yet? Am I getting it right yet? And eventually...
What, the swing that...
Yeah, swing.
How hard is that swing?
What is it?
How hard is that swing?
You'd be surprised. You would be surprised how many people don't do it right.
Really?
Yes. You would be absolutely
I have
surprised.
to send you my videos on swinging.
You would be absolutely surprised. This is the thing now, you see. So I'm at the gym, and I've got to a stage now where I was learning all these kettlebell things, and I loved it, and I got it. And then I'm at the gym, and very rarely did I see anyone do kettlebells in correct form, and it would stop me in my tracks, and I'd be staring thinking, oh my God, I want to correct it. I can't. How can I do it? I've got nothing under my belt. Hence why then I went for my certification.
Okay.
And then that is the journey of me wanting to then realize. And it was really good because I think my friends encouraged me, because at that point I didn't think I could do it. It's very hard. It's a whole weekend certification. It's the testing is very hard. You have to do 100 snatches in 5 minutes. You have to go through the whole... you can't even imagine. The snatches, basically you got the kettlebells going down and you're bringing it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right? I've done that. Yeah. I don't know if I've done it right now. I need to get it checked out.
I mean, I
doubt
it very much. I'll have to check it.
Let me know if you know an expert.
But that's just this much of it. And it's so funny how we were all so scared of that. Snatch test, obsessed over the snatch test. And then you enter this weekend and realize it was probably the easiest bit, because it's so they do. Wow. It was probably the hardest weekend of my life. So when they told me I'd passed, I cannot tell you. I think it's the biggest accomplishment of my life. Did
you go back to that person and say, "Oi, you're doing that wrong"?
No.
I watched you 2 months ago.
No, but I tell you what has happened though. People will come and ask me, "How are you doing that with the kettlebell? How did you do it like that?" And then starts a conversation.
That's when the business card comes out.
That's when you know you're doing it right. I remember when I told Craig that, I said, people are asking me, and he went, "Oh, it's great." Because people ask me about my skipping, I'll go down and be like, "Oh, you think I was skipping?" I'm used to that. And then when someone asked me about the kettlebells, I then felt, I'm doing something right, and I felt great about it. That means I've accomplished something.
Mashallah, that's really, really good. That's really because it's not your typical weight training or your typical cardio running or
No.
It's something different.
The benefits are amazing, and people don't know enough about it.
I think I need to get my wife a membership with you.
I would love it. I would absolutely love it. It's so much fun because you don't realize how much it benefits you. It's very simple. You got 6 main movements, and depending on the intensity and the volume and the density, you can literally change your life.
Smash
you
it.
can, and that you just need one thing. You need one kettlebell.
Just the one.
And you can see the connection now. I'm very efficient. I just like having something that's simple but efficient, like the rope. I just need one rope. I can do it anyway. I just need one kettlebell. I can work out anyway.
Technically, yes, the simpler the workout, the more effective it is.
Yeah.
Because then, you're just doing the main movements and that's what it is. But, describe me a typical day in your household and what routines and strategies you have found helpful managing your daily activities, and that from children to basically to when you wake up. What time do you wake up? 5 o'clock? 4, 5 o'clock?
It depends actually, because I'm not a great sleeper. It has gotten a little
what
bit.
time do you sleep?
It all depends.
Let's start backwards.
It all depends. I try to get in bed for 10. The Whoop helped me with my sleep actually. The Whoop.
I want to talk about that because
this has helped me with my sleep, because I use it way more for wellness, not to track fitness. It doesn't. The accuracy is questionable, but in terms of my wellness and just understanding my sleep patterns and getting my circadian rhythm back on track, because it was terrible. But it's helped me with that. But to be honest with you, it's waking up, kids, getting them off to school.
So what time do you wake up? We need a timeline here. So.
Oh, you need a timeline now. Okay.
Yeah.
So
because everyone wakes up, everyone wakes up and takes the kids to school. But let's structure this question out.
Okay. So my husband isn't a morning person.
Isn't.
So he is a morning person.
Oh, is.
Yeah. I'm not a morning person. I just need time to process my morning. I like to get up and get myself sorted, and then I can join in. Husband's great like that. He can just get up and start. So he gets up, starts with the kids straight away. They're up. He'll start the process of everything. And then So you're talking the kids wake up for about 7. See, it's hard for me to tell you that because though there's different. Sometimes Dode's up at 5. This is the reality of autism, though. I suppose it's a real question, isn't it? Sometimes he can be really early, and then we're up and we're just like, oh, it's time to go to bed. And he's like, well, there's light outside. How am I going to go to bed? He's still non-verbal, by the way, so he doesn't say that. But he's obviously can see there's light, and he's like, well, and then we can't get him back to bed. But okay, on a typical day, let's just say he wakes up at 7.
Yeah.
And then it's waking up, it's making sure he's settled. You know, most of the time he wakes up in a good mood. He has the same breakfast every day. He has a very, very nutritional breakfast, I'd say. We make him a pancake and we just put everything in it. So first thing in the morning, he's got everything he needs. So you're talking we got like a mushroom blend. We've got like almond flour. We've got arrowroot flour. We make our own kind of pancake, but make sure there's the good stuff in it.
Yeah. He'll
have that in the morning. And the Najib will then drop them both after school. And then I go straight to the gym. So I go to the gym and I'm usually there for about a couple of hours. And then depending on what day it is and how hard I want to go, I tend to base a lot of my workouts now around my hormones. I think women need to really look into that and realize that there's times that they can go heavier, there's times that they shouldn't go heavier. So I base it on that. But yeah, so I've got reps and sets that I do, but then I increase it by a few every single day, making sure there's some progression there. And then I have some days where I just have fun and I do whatever I want. So it might be a few swings, might be some skipping. I swing every day. That's my main. I love swinging. I could swing a kettlebell all day. And then it's basically just making sure I maintain that. But I also do jiu-jitsu as well. Actually, I would say jiu-jitsu has been quite life-changing as well. That's been really, really helpful for me, mentally speaking, because I did originally start it just to add to my fitness, but I realized more than ever that it's helped my brain because it's a very mindful sport.
Is it?
Yeah, because you're having to really think. It's like they say it's like chess with bodies. You know, you're having to really think ahead of what move you're going to do and prejudge what the other person's going to do. I absolutely love jiu-jitsu. It's one of the things I'm always telling people to get into if they can, because I think it's also one of those things people are scared of, thinking, oh, hold on, I'm going to get hurt.
Yeah, but you know, when you're on a mat, it's all controlled anyway, isn't it? There's certain things you can't just go in and then just smack the other person, and you know,
I think
very controlled.
It's a very, very elegant, beautiful art. You know, there's a way of doing it. It's not UFC, you know, and and the way they teach. Mixed up. Yeah, no, it's very. This is what I like. They say it's funny because they say it's an autistic sport. It's very disciplined. There's certain things you can't have your shoes on the mat. You got to cut your nails. There's certain things you got to do before you go, and you have to be a certain way. You got to think a certain way. You got to be respectful of the people around you. You know, I obviously don't roll with the men, but majority of them, they will roll with men, and you know, there's a big weight difference, there's a big strength difference, and they have to be quite wary of their strength, and you got to think about the right technique and when to be explosive or when to not. But yeah, sorry, I went off on a complete tangent then. So going back, so basically I go to the gym and then I stay at the gym up until I need to pick those up. So I'll gym and then I always sauna, steam room, and then I go straight to pick those up. And then what happens is I've charged my batteries, you know, and I find that as soon as I started that routine, my day was smooth because I was so full of dopamine. All the endorphins had been, you know, released. I can deal with anything at that point. I'll then pick him up from school, and then I've got him for the rest of the day, bring him home, feed him, settle him, make sure he's okay, sort out whatever needs to be sorted out regarding emails, phone calls, professionals, because I'm constantly in contact with his therapists. His tutors will give me an update of how he's been in the day. So though attends there's a
hands-on day, isn't it?
Yeah, he goes to a mainstream school, by the way, which is quite rare for an autistic child, and that's because his ABA tutors are his one-to-one. So we were able to get that on his EHCP. We had to recently go to court again because the local authority wanted to re-review his whole case. So they kind of wanted to start from the beginning. Again? But then what they decided to do was take the ABA away with no heads up, no evidence. So then I had to appeal that and say, why are you taking this away? And we went back to court. And then they gave the ABA back after a whole year of me fighting like a crazy woman, but they refused to give holiday provision. So that's why we appealed that and took them to court again for that. January just gone, we won again. So we've now got the holiday provision.
They don't learn the lesson, do they?
It doesn't end. The fights don't end. Yeah. So this is always going on in my background. I feel like that's all I do. That's basically, I feel like I'm admin for my son, basically.
PA.
Phone calls, phone calls, emails. And then I learnt my lesson the first time around too. So this tribunal was really nice and smooth because I knew exactly what I was doing. We had a great solicitor. I knew exactly that what I say goes, really. You know, you when you learn that the professionals will talk like they know best, but they don't, you then learn to take control. And I thought, okay, I know what he needs. This is what he needs. I'm just going to fight for that. And then they were like, we need to assess your son. And I was like, no, you don't need to assess my son. And then you just don't let them see him. It's quite simple. Because then what they're going to do, they're going to look at him for an hour and tell you what they think is best when they don't know him. When then you've got somebody who's been working with him for 5 years with evidence upon evidence of why it's working.
It just all comes down to money, isn't it?
It does come back. It literally is a financial thing, which is what I end up saying. Like it needs to be more child-led. You need to do what's best for the child.
Yeah.
Your agenda needs to be more child-focused. And this is what I repeat so much when I'm speaking to all these caseworkers who change so often. Can I just say that the staff turnover in the local authority is horrendous. So I'm talking to someone new, like, I'm sorry, they've just given me your case and I have to explain everything again.
The whole thing.
So what I learned to do was be really vigilant. You're talking, you know, even when you leave a voicemail, you then send an email to say that you left a voicemail. You record every conversation. You email every conversation. Oh, by the way, this is what we discussed. Because if it's not in writing, they will lie.
Yes.
They will say 100%. They don't remember talking to you. They did this. They said that, you know, we could carry on with the ABA. We then did it for a week, and then they turned around and said, oh, we didn't give it to you. So then we had to pay for that week. So, and I said, I had this conversation with you, and I said that you said it was good to go ahead, we can carry on. And they said, no, we didn't say that. I learned from then. I was like, I'm recording every conversation. I'm writing it down. I'm emailing you, telling you this is the conversation we just had. Then I'm voicemailing you, telling you that I've left you an email. You cover all your tracks.
Of course.
Cover all your tracks.
See, that's the thing with work like this. It has to be covered. Your back has to be covered no matter what.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. Look, the bottom line is they're not the parent. They're not living with the child. So for them, it's just another case. Yeah. They look at it as a case.
You'd be surprised how wrong they get it. I've gone through reports where they've called him a she. So she.
Oh, for God's sake.
They've copied and pasted paragraphs. They've got one EHCP and they copy and paste paragraphs in, and then you've got a different name. You've got different fonts, so you can see it's from different reports. It's been horrendous, and I'm that pedantic, so I read through I'm always going through the reports. I always say to parents, read the reports, really read them. Like an EHCP, it's a legal document. It's a legal document that the local authority have to follow. So they're going to be clever with how they write things. You need to read through it. You need to understand what each section means, and you need to make sure that you tell them when there's a mistake, because this document is the one document that's going to let the school know and any professional involved know what your child needs. You want it to be accurate.
It's like a medical report, isn't it? Which you take to a new doctor. The doctor has to read your previous stuff to know where you are.
Yeah.
And you telling me the parents don't kind of.
Yeah, and then this is the thing that you got. I was lucky to have had information. I was lucky to have some knowledge from my social background. Obviously, then I kind of just took a deep dive into autism, and now it's like I'm obsessed with it. So I do all the research. Still to this day,
I don't blame you.
But there's parents who don't know that they can do that. They don't know that they can actually research themselves what's best for the child and then try to get that for them. They just assume that all the professionals that are involved are going to tell them what to do and they know what's best. So it's really important that parents understand that their voice.
It's understandable. Like the professionals will go by bullet points, what they've learned or what they've but every child is different.
Yeah. No, this is exactly why ABA works very well. It's the therapy itself sees every child as an individual. So each program, you meet two autistic children who are having ABA, their programs are going to be completely different because their program is catering to their need. So ABA helped us an awful lot. We toilet trained him with ABA. I remember trying to toilet train though at the normal age that you would in your typical child. Wasn't happening. And I remember looking at Najib saying, this is not happening. He's just not understanding. He doesn't care whether he wets himself. He doesn't. And then, I said to my consultant, can we have a program in for toilet training? They put it in. I actually calculated how long it took us. It took us about 9 months just for him to understand that we're doing. Wow. Yeah, because we were basically having to take him toilet initially every 10 minutes, and then we're documenting it. You got to take the data. So this time we took him, and then every 10 minutes you take him, you're going to catch him. You're going to catch him going. When he does go, you then reinforce it and reward him in that moment. So at that point, those reinforcer was a tablet. It will be most kids at that age. And then
tablet, as in the iPad tablet. He was what tablets?
No, like medication. No, like a tablet. So he was obviously sitting on the toilet. He's done a wee. We're really happy. We give him the tablet, and he's like, oh. And then you imagine taking him every 10 minutes, and then every time he is doing something right, we're giving him the tablet, and he's realizing at that stage, oh, I'm doing something right here. And it's really good, because I liken it to, like, you know, when your battery loses charge and you just need another car to kind of come and jumpstart you, and then you think, oh, that's right, and then that can go. So then now those goes to the toilet now and doesn't need the tablet. It's basically
you're literally programming everything again.
Yes, but using it, but you have to do it using something they actually are reinforced by. Because one of the things with autistic children, you know, a neurotypical child can be reinforced by, well done, good boy, well done, good girl.
Just by speech.
Yeah, and autistic children, you know, they've got very specific things. It could be a train, it could be an airplane, it could just be...
How do you know that this will work?
It's whatever they're into. So, you know, you'll see your child might just like building blocks in that moment. So you use it, like, you know, Doe's gone through phase of liking musical instruments. He was at one point really obsessed with cheese and onion Walker's crisps. He doesn't have that anymore now because his diet's completely changed. But, you know, they would basically, if they wanted him to do something, for example, touching a certain color, they would give him a crisp, and he'd say, okay, I want another crisp, so I better do what she's saying. And you're just basically, just creating that pathway in his brain, using something he likes. After he knows it, he doesn't need what he likes anymore. So now he might know a color, but he doesn't ask for crisps, you know? So you're just in that moment using what's necessary, and it works.
That is hard work.
But it's genius. It's a very, very,
very
good therapy.
You know, I always, obviously in our religion as well, you know, God doesn't burden a soul which he can't bear.
This is what we've said to ourselves.
There's a reason, you know, otherwise it would never have ever have happened to you. And, you know, the strong-minded and strong-souled people can bear with that. Like now, me listening as a father, I'd be like, I'd lose it. I'd lose the plot, like, because it's so difficult as it is. Alhamdulillah, you know, he's fine. He has a bit of these days and he won't eat. And you think, come on, man, why are you not eating? But imagine a whole different situation.
Yeah, we always
say. Where you can't even say anything but, you know, be thankful for what you have. Oh man, it's difficult. I don't know how
this is what we say. We are basically kind of living on another planet. I don't feel like, you know, I speak to other parents and I see how they are with their children. And me and Najib said very early on that we have to understand, and we say this, all our special need friends will say this. We're basically living on another planet. We're with you guys here. But how we operate daily. Don't expect anything
from us.
We don't. It's not even. It is. I mean, it's nice of you to say.
If you don't expect us to come here at 5 o'clock at your. We don't know what's happening.
It is. That's the case. It's, you know, it's like understanding that our life is very different. It's revolved around those needs. Wow. Absolutely revolved around his needs. You know, alhamdulillah, Leah is amazing. You know, she's still got some. She's got a quite different journey, but alhamdulillah, she's not a burden. Mashallah, she's amazing.
It's not a burden. She's a carer.
No, but you know how you would think, obviously, though is difficult. His day-to-day is difficult for us.
But I wouldn't say burden, because, you know, it's a blessing at the end of the day as well.
Oh, it is 100% a blessing.
It's a blessing in a way that we will never, ever understand.
I think it's the biggest blessing ever, because I feel like it gives you purpose. It gives you a purpose like no other.
Imagine you didn't have those.
I'd be in the gym all day.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't leave the gym.
You know, then there's no sense of that purpose. There's a reason why everything happens. And I believe that. I'm totally 100% full faith.
Yeah.
Everything in life happens for a reason. We might not understand this. Maybe in the next life we'll get the reward for it. Don't know, you know. But I have a friend of mine, and he's got a child, he's, I don't know the right word to, you know, he's full disabled child. He's on those electric.
So he's physically
wheelchair,
disabled as
physically from birth, from day one.
Oh wow!
And you know, bless him. Till today, I think it's been about 10 odd years or something now. Till today, I've never ever heard him or say anything like, "Oh, you know, I can't deal with this anymore." And he's always in and out of hospital. And I've never, ever heard him complain. Wow. Never. And you know what? He's going to get rewarded for it. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not. And in situations like that make me say, oh my God, like, alhamdulillah, like you have to like
Yes.
be grateful for your situation.
Yes.
Because I know I'm dealing with a neurological condition, but like a medical condition or like a physical disability to me seems like, oh my God, how would I cope with that? And then I got people who, and I've got some friends who've got children with medical conditions and physical disabilities, and they're like, I don't know how you deal with a neurological condition. Like, he can't talk. How do you know what he
Everyone's
needs?
just looking at
And
each other.
And it doesn't. I think, you know, you're burdened with, Allah doesn't burden us more than it can cope with. And I do believe that, because I know for a fact, you know, autism for me made sense. I know how to deal with it. You know, like,
Yeah.
I look at those and I seem to know what he needs. I seem to understand his needs, and I feel as though I can cope with this.
Yeah.
And we have bad days where it's just too much. But generally speaking, on a day to day, I think a medical condition would completely, I just don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
Like going
Like
in and
he's
out.
got-
I hate
yeah.
hospitals. I've got like health anxiety, and it's like having to be in a hospital all the time would really scare me. So,
You know, in terms of like support and resources, obviously we've spoken about the resources that you've had, and from day one, the ABA and the groups and the companies that have kind of helped you through this, and you know, bless them, they've done a fantastic job. Obviously, you would know. But what kind of support have you received from family, friends, and the communities and the organizations around you?
I think that's a good question. I think when you first, you know, get your child's diagnosis and stuff, I think it's also a process for your family to understand what's going on, and to really, I think it's really hard for people to know how to navigate that. And I think it's down to the parents to share that knowledge and share their need for support, because it's really easy to just assume they're going to know, and they don't know because they don't live your life. So, you know, if you're just saying, I can't come over, I can't do this, and they're just thinking you're isolating yourself and you're not integrating enough. If you bring your child around and they see how you operate, that's only going to give them more understanding.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in kind of asking for support now, and kind of making people aware that, you know, I find this really hard. Can you help me with this? Or, you know, like when I go to certain people's houses, you have to say, like, have you got a TV? Like, he's going to need a TV, or just make sure there's nothing dangerous around, or, you know, and that's really the least of what you need. Just somebody to be able to accommodate your child and understand that he might need a different setting to a normal child. It might need an extra eye on him, because they just like to just run off and elope. But I do think you need to share that. And I think one of the things that I learned, you know, later on in my journey with Dode was the fact that it was more my responsibility to share that. You can't just expect people to know what to do. It's like, I mean, if I didn't have Dode, you know, I know people now who've got autistic children, and I've got more respect for them now that I have Dode, because I understand. People are not going to understand if they're not in that position. Very few people.
I mean, I can't understand.
Right? So you have to share it. You have to speak to them.
Now,
you need to
just
be open
by
about
listening
it.
to you now, it's just come to, I've just realized how much hard work it is. It's day to day. It's never ending.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, like Najib, when he was first diagnosed, and Najib was thinking, you know, would he grow out of it? That's it.
Yeah. It's once, you know, the challenges never change. One might
get
become
easier.
One might become easier, but then with age comes another challenge. And then with the new process, you know, like obviously it was so hard for us to even get him into school. Now he's in a school, and now it's like, okay, he's still not talking, so we need to try to get him to talk. But it's almost like he's still not eating by himself, so we need to get him to eat by himself, you know. And there's always a challenge, but when one gets harder, one is slightly getting easier.
Yeah.
And then there's a nice equilibrium, I think. And I think that's a blessing, because I think you have to focus on what's going well. And our milestones are really small.
That was my next, literally my next, my next question was like, what developmental milestones and achievements have been most significant for your child?
Oh, wow.
You know,
there's so
again,
many.
Like
I've been so excited that he wrote his name. That for me was such a big deal. Because the thing with autistic children is they can't tell you what they do know and how intelligent they are. So when they get an opportunity to show you, and you're like, how long have you been able to do that for? Because maybe I didn't give you an opportunity to show me. But obviously, like I said, he's nonverbal, so he doesn't speak. And we were sitting in the car. We were just we used the sketch pad and he's just playing on the tablet in the car. And I realized he was just he wasn't touching the screen, but he was moving his fingers a certain way. And I was like, you look like you're typing something or writing something. So then I kind of moved his hand towards it and I was kind of just assisting him a little bit, holding his hand. And he wrote a D. And I went, okay. And I carried on. He wrote an A. And then I realized, I think he's trying to write his name. So I carried on going and he had more confidence because I was holding his hand, thinking, okay, mommy's kind of helping me. I wasn't helping him. I was just putting my hand there.
Yeah.
He wrote a W, he wrote a U, and he wrote a D. And it blew my mind. In that moment, I was like, oh my God. I took a photo of it, sent it to my husband, sent it to my ABA tutors. I said, I think he can write his name. I think he knows his name.
And how old was he then?
This wasn't that long ago. Probably 8. He's only turned 9 recently, to be fair. So it was like sometime last year. But it was amazing.
That's
and then
a milestone,
It
isn't
is. And then I tested it and then I made a reel on my Instagram page because it was just too much of a fantastic thing for me. And I got a file tip and I said, let's see if you can do it with a file tip. And he did. And he did it again. So it was like solid confirmation. He knows his name. He knows how to write it. And it was
awesome.
a huge thing. Absolutely huge. And the toilet training was a huge thing because we used to... that was so hard. Just going out, thinking, not knowing.
Please.
Yeah. I mean, till this day, I'll meet parents and their child's like 8 and they'll be like, they're in nappies. And it's really hard. It's very hard to toilet train an autistic child. Very, very hard.
Of course, because the thing is, there's no speech.
There's no speech and you don't know.
They don't know what's going on and they'll just do it and that's it.
Yeah, so then you keep the nappies on and then you try again and you fail. So you put the nappy back on, you try again and you fail. This is the thing as well.
Very, very, very patient.
Oh, it's a long journey, I tell you. Like, it's just very, 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 very long. The other thing he's doing now is actually picking up a spoon and feeding himself when prompted. That's a huge thing because we've always just had to feed him. And if we make the spoon and kind of leave it in the bowl, he kind of picks the spoon up and puts it in his mouth. And all these are, fine motor skills, his dexterity, his ability to hold the spoon, his ability to make sure the spoon's going into his mouth. These are all little skills that the ABA therapists have had programs in place for, making him strengthen certain muscles so he can... because the other thing as well, like, he used to put food in his mouth and some would fall out.
Yeah.
And a parent in that moment would probably get so annoyed with all the mess being made because food. But you don't
Trust
realise.
I can tell you that. Mine's only 1.5. I'm like, eat that,
right?
Just eat it. You can eat something from yesterday, which is on the floor. It's the same concept.
But you would be surprised
this is fresh.
how many muscles it takes in your mouth to hold the food in your mouth. Like, that's not his fault. There's a muscle that's weak that he's not able to close his mouth fast enough, so the food will fall out. And this is a big lesson I learned early on because something about Dod is he can't sit still. He's constantly running around. You'll know this from how he is. All of the sofas and everything. And it was one thing that used to annoy me quite a lot because it would give me a headache because I'm trying to feed him and he's running around. And then we had an occupational therapist come to the house to assess him. That's one of the supports that we have. And I have never learnt so much in my life. And she then explained to me everything about the fact that he actually needs to run around. It regulates him. He's not just running around for no reason. You can't force him to sit down. His nervous system is feeling a certain type of way. And when he runs around, it calms him down. And then in that moment, I realised I can't.
I think I want to take him to my mountain climb, which I'm doing for charity.
He would love it. He'd just run to the top. But
I don't want him to run to the top. No, please.
No, this is the thing though.
Under my
I feel as if there was a road and no one stopped him, he would just carry on running. He would just. Wow. I don't think he would actually know to stop. But that taught me a big lesson to not get angry over certain things that he does. There's always going to be a meaning behind it, and he really needs to do certain things. He's not just being naughty.
Yeah.
And another thing I read which really hit hard and really made this journey easier for me is, your child's not being difficult. They're having a difficult time, and there's a big difference. So in that moment where you think they're being naughty, they're having a meltdown, they're doing your head in, they're having a difficult time in their head. That's creating that behaviour. So in that moment, they need more than ever compassion and your understanding, not for you to get angry as a parent. And that's been a huge lesson for me and Najib both because... and when you're dealing with the same... It makes
you think in a different way then.
Yeah, because when you're dealing with the same repetitive, behaviours, everyone's got a limit. And you want to just get angry at the guy. But then you think, hold on, he's having a tougher time. If he's reacting that bad, can you imagine how overwhelmed he must be internally that he doesn't know how to react and he's lashing out at us? So then, and I learned this off my tutors. They are so calm. It doesn't matter what Dod does. Their voice is low. Their behaviour is normal, their hands are kind, and it immediately calms him down. If he feels our energy, like, oh my God, Dod, what you're doing, screaming, shout. If we get annoyed and frustrated with him, he's feeling our energy, and it doesn't help him calm down in any way. And my tutors were great like that, because, you know, he'd be hitting them and he'd be like scratching them and biting them, and they just stay calm. They'll be like, no, kind hands, move his hands away, walk away. They just had this kind of really, this demeanor that I saw instantly would calm him down. And that's when me and Najib thought, okay, that's how we need to operate in our house. This is how our house needs to be.
Calm.
It can't get to you, and you need to just be able to let it, you know, float past like a cloud. You know, like, just watch his behavior. Let him.
Not like a cloud, like a thunder.
Like
wait for the thunder. Wait for the storm to just go.
But then not react to it. That was the biggest thing, to not have a reaction. And we still have days like that, but I think we've learned to kind of tag team. So I know on a day where, you know, Najib's had a long day and he's like extra already annoyed and come home flustered, I won't expect him to look after Dod. Then I won't say, no, you know what, Dod's doing my head in, go sort him out. I'll say, actually, I'm feeling a bit better than you. I'll deal with him, you go. Or there's times when I'm really overwhelmed and I've had a tough day. And then I can see Najib is calmer, so I'll be like, you just have to deal with him. And
have you got any like future concerns for Dod?
Oh my God, I have so many, but I don't think about them.
What are the hopes and aspirations for him as well? So for both angles.
All right. So the other thing I've learned is, if you had asked me when he was 4, if he would be doing what he's doing now at 9, I would have said no. So I have learned to not, expect little of him. Like, I think he's capable of anything. I do think that. I do believe that. That's
one thing I personally believe as well, is, you know, when the children have some kind of a disability or disadvantage, they excel in something else.
Yeah.
Absolutely out the park.
And when you find what they're good at and what they like.
When you don't know, but until you find it, they'll just be like, whoa.
Yeah.
There has to be something. You can't be less than anyone else. It has to be a balance.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what it is. You know, like, find their specialist interest. Find their specialist interest, because, you know, when you figure out what they like, that's going to help them.
I think he's going to like the gym, you know.
Listen, I'm waiting for him to follow instructions.
No, not the kettlebells, all right? No, we don't want him to do the kettlebells.
You know, the guy's
Jiu-jitsu, push some weight, you know, he's strong.
Should I tell you something? When we're grappling with him, when we're trying to restrain him, the guy does all of the moves that I've had to learn. And I'm like, how does he already know jiu-jitsu? Honestly, his grips, his underhooks, he knows what he's doing. And me and Najib couldn't stop laughing, because at one point he literally, I think he did like a rear naked choke on Najib, and he was like, how the hell does he know how to do that? And he just not. And
check his phone.
But this is the thing, right?
Lessons on jiu-jitsu, how to.
And we do jiu-jitsu at home. I don't know how much he's copying, but it's, you know, you think, because he can't verbally communicate, his communication's through movement, you know. Yeah. So he knows what he's doing. He's like, I need to grab you. I'm going under your armpit. I'm getting a underhook. I'm like, you know, he just knows what he's doing. I want you to come down on the floor. I'm going to trip you over. He's just clever like that. It's so good. I've
always believed if a child is lacking in one place, he's going to excel in something else that you just need to wait and see. Yeah.
And we've said this. As soon as he's able to follow instruction appropriately, I'm getting him into a jiu-jitsu school. I'm just going to get him in, because I know he's going to be brilliant.
That's going to regulate him, because he can use all his strength.
It's right. When we drill, it's repetitive movement over and over again.
That's it. He's going to love it.
You know, and then it's just, I would love for him to go into jiu-jitsu. He's also he loves music. You know, you sit him in front of a keyboard and a piano, he'll kind of calm down.
Yeah, no, what's that YouTube music that he listens to? There's a particular song.
Gummy Bear. That's not a fun one. Don't. That's not a good thing. That's driven us insane. Having said that, he's found a really good Islamic one.
What is it?
Yeah, and we're loving that one. It's it's exactly the Gummy Bear song, but it's a really good Islamic one where he's saying Alhamdulillah and praising God for it. And I was like, this is a good one. We can keep that one.
But no, you can listen to this one, son. No problem.
That one, you know, is on way too much in our house. It's not. He's into the alphabet song now, which is quite nice. That's a nice calming one.
Mine is learning all his phonics and everything. He's got all his phonics now. Everything. He's only one and a half. I don't know the age of your child. This is. I know. Yeah, 1.5. Right. Let's just stick to the right. We round it up.
We didn't tell people we're family. People must be thinking this is why we know each other. By the way.
Yeah, we're family. By the way.
Yes, he's married to my cousin.
And. So he's done all his phonics. So that was just like, wow, how do you know phonics?
This is a great example for you now. This is how I can show you how though there's developmentally. So he's 9 and he's doing his phonics now. And Mikhail is 1 and something and he's doing his phonics. Yeah. So that's the development delay. It's a good idea for you to see it. It's like operating with
exactly. I was
he's
thinking that.
He's that much in his brain, but he looks like a 9-year-old.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when you were telling me about all the milestones and everything. I was thinking, wow, look at the age difference. All right. And how brain works. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's absolutely phenomenal.
It's amazing. And then, it's like we had to, stop comparing him a long time ago. Like, even now in school, we'll have meetings with teachers. They'll be like, well, how he's not he's not like his peers. And I'm like, you need to stop measuring him with that metric. He's not actually in your system. He's not using your curriculum at all. So, I'm not going to sit and be upset about the fact that he's not operating at a year 4 child.
Exactly. You got to
He's got his own journey
to yesterday.
Exactly.
Where is he today from yesterday?
Yeah.
Has he improved? Yeah, wicked.
Yeah.
We're moving forward. You
It's
can't compare him with somebody else. There's 2 different brain.
Yeah, I think schools do that, and I think it's not a good. I don't think it's very positive for the parents.
I don't think I want to send mine to the school. Homeschool.
To their school.
To a school. To their school. To a school. I don't think I went to a school. By the sounds of it. But yeah, we're having these thoughts that homeschooling way. It's harder.
If you can do it, guys, honestly, it's harder, it's brilliant.
But it's a lot better because social aspect. My wife's always like, I want him to have friends. I says, look.
No, but the homeschooling children have a community. You would meet up with other parents who are homeschooling, and they'll still see other children and stuff.
And
still
plus, he could come and work in the shop, no problem. He'll make plenty of friends. How do you think we know a lot of people? Gym, connections, and yes, in that sense, you keep your child with you. You take him, you teach him where you go, how to speak to people. Teachers don't tell you any of that. Look at the state of the schools this day and age. It's shocking. A child comes out of school swearing, effing and blinding. Like, who's been teaching him what? So don't you think you rather keep him to himself and teach him what's right and wrong? Then he can do his lessons or whatever he wants to do, and that's it.
I do think like a lot of families are thinking that way now, if I'm honest, especially like in the autism community, actually, because if you're doing
very limited resources for autistic
it is, but then like if you're having like an independent company coming in anyway, they could be coming to your house and doing it. You go. It's hard because obviously to get it on the EHCP and if you want help from the local authority, then there needs to be an educational establishment involved, so they need to be out of school. But I do know families now where their children are older and they can have like a flexi timetable where they're at home for a few hours and then they only go to school for a few hours. So it's a bit of both. In an ideal world, and I was just talking about this today, actually. I was saying, my dream is to be able to open an ABA clinic and actually have like a place where children can come and go there instead of going to a school first. So then you're then taught the basic fundamentals of how to even settle into a mainstream school. That's what's really needed for autistic children. Because, when they're just expected to fit in straight away into a school that wasn't made for them, that's when the behaviours get worse because they're trying to fit in and they can't. They're like, this is not made for us. So if they had somewhere to go before to be teaching them, because they can be taught. They can.
It just takes longer, isn't it?
It just takes longer.
Obviously, we know that they can be taught through
the right methods. Yeah, they just need honestly they just need
time, patience, and a different kind of love.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
It's the same with like medical appointments. Though we took him to the dentist, and originally I took him to my dentist because he's great, and I thought he'd be good. But then I realized actually he still wasn't able to settle, and then they made a referral to like community dentist, and the only difference is that he has an hour appointment, and it just takes him about a good half an hour to just want to sit and look around the room and figure out what's going on. And then eventually, it took us about 6-7 appointments, but now he lets the dentist look in his mouth. But that's what he needed, time. You can't expect an autistic child to then understand what's going on. It takes their brain long to process. So an hour's appointment suited him fine. He's got time to process. I'm getting my teeth checked. Okay, this is the chair I'm going to sit on. That's the person who's going to see me. He wants to play for a bit. And then the last 10 minutes, he might sit and let you look in his mouth. Even that took a while to get him to open his mouth. But, it's just time. You're absolutely right. They just need more time. And I think, people are lacking it. And in schools, especially, they've got such regimented ways of doing stuff.
Look, a normal person can't adjust in that time. And that's the reality of it. I mean, just look at the dynamics of a typical school now. It's just nonsense.
It's just very textbook and very,
there's no real life.
they don't really consider individual differences, and then that's when the children who suffer, and then those children are going to suffer more because, they're expected to do a certain thing at a certain time, and if they're still trying to understand what just happened before and then what you're sending me somewhere else now, the brain is operating, it's completely wired differently.
Some children in schools are not as friendly.
I think, this is one of the things I do have.
Bullies and stuff, and that's a huge
I think secondary
part
school
of it.
is when, I think in secondary school, those difficulties. Because in primary school, you can I think you can avoid it a little bit because children are more playful, aren't they?
Yeah.
In secondary school, this is where, there's a lot of concern for those. I think we are going to think very much about how we're going to navigate that, because I think it's much harder in secondary school, because then you do have the added element of children not understanding and bullying you for not understanding you, and taking your behaviours the wrong way, In primary school, the kids are really beautiful. They're quite understanding. Dole's got some people in his class who are just fascinated by him because he's different. They want to talk to him. They want to see what he's doing. They want to come to the back and they're drawing pictures.
Secondary school is a totally different ballgame.
I think it's
a normal child will get bullied there. If you're a quiet child, you'll get bullied there, let alone with special needs. And it's very difficult. And then you need special assistance. And, you always bump into that one idiot child who's just ruins it for everyone. But before we want to wrap it up, because we can talk about this.
Very interesting topic.
It's a very, very interesting topic. But what advice would you give to other parents who are just starting off their journey with an autistic child?
So first, I would say they need to give themselves time to accept it. So feel what you have to feel. Go through the motions, whether it's crying it out, whether it's staying in bed for a day, whatever you need to do to go through the motions of accepting this, just do that. You need to look after yourself first. I think, your cup has to be full for you to then be able to go and pour in somebody else's, and I can't emphasize that enough. And this is obviously where my fitness journey comes in, because that's been my savior. It's what I do to fill my cup. It's what I do that's helping me help those, and that's essentially what parents want. They want to help their child to the best of their ability, and they can't do that unless they are at the best of their ability. So go through the motions, do whatever you need to do to accept it, embrace it, grieve, do whatever you need to do, man. Reach out, even get a therapist at that point if you're still not able to accept it. Do what you need to do. And then just remember, the better you look, the more you invest in yourself, your child's going to benefit from that. I think that's the other thing. The other thing I would say is be very, very vigilant about the professionals around you. Don't really trust anyone. Because they haven't got your child's best interest the way you would have your child's best interest. So do your own research. Speak to other parents.
When people say, do your own research, what exactly are they looking for? Because again, when coming down to vaccinations, I didn't get my child vaccinated because, everyone would say, do your research. But what am I looking for? What research I want to do? That's a big, there's a lot of information on the internet, a lot of information. In fact, too much information. You are just like, okay, this guy's saying this, this guy's saying that.
It can be overwhelming,
This forum is saying that, this forum is that. But what exactly am I looking for?
I listen to parents who have been through it. I'm really lucky to have a lot of mentors in my life who've got much older autistic children who are now in their 20s, in their 30s, and those parents have been through it. You imagine what they've been through to come through. And I honestly will take their advice over any
professional. Who's just graduated.
Don't listen. Professionals, they're just there doing their job. They're not really going to give you the best advice. But speak to the parents who have been through what you've been through, and really listen to them, and they can probably give you the best advice, and they'll probably show you the most compassion because they know exactly what you're going through. But in terms of online, I think forums are great because once again, you're speaking to other parents. And now, there's many WhatsApp groups now for SEN parents. I'm part of one that I absolutely love. It's really helped me a lot. You'd be shocked because, you'd be surprised how much knowledge we all have as a community. I probably got more knowledge in ABA, but somebody else is probably going to have more knowledge about the blue badge. because they've probably gone through a longer journey of trying to get it from the local authority. And when you come onto forums and WhatsApp groups and Instagram pages, you know, like social media has really helped me a lot. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of controversy around how good social media is, but honestly, you know, the day I started my Instagram page and I started to reach out to other special needs parents, and how other parents have reached out to me, I realized I wasn't alone. And that I think is really important, because there's a point where you do feel alone and think, God, I'm living a different life to everyone else, and is this what it's going to be like? And it's only when you reach out to the other parents and you speak to them and you realize that you're not alone, gives you the confidence to understand that you can live a normal life and you can do things. You can go out there and you can do it. You might have to do it a little bit differently. You might have to navigate it differently.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
The end goal is the same.
The end goal is the same.
And do you reckon this is it's a very a taboo subject in the Asian community? We don't like to talk about these things. Or do you reckon?
Oh my God, 100%. I still have people in my family and in my husband's family say, don't worry, he's going to grow out of it. And it's like only so much you can say to them. No, this is a neurological condition he's born with. It's not something he's going to grow out of. He might be able to cope better with it and find better strategies to live. He's not going to grow out of this. This is something he's going to have. And it's hard. I think it's really hard. I think it's a massive taboo. Absolutely. And this is what was my main purpose of my Instagram page, was just to spread that awareness, because I think there's a lot of fear around it. I think it's just seen as a disability sometimes, and that can just be, it just comes under that bracket of a disability. And I think people can be scared to want to learn more about it. Yeah, and I think it can be scary. You know, our children, they're very loud, they stim, they run around, they don't look into your eyes. They can be very unpredictable. Their behavior is scary to people who don't understand autism. You know, they can just come and hug you 1 second, then they can come and, you know, hold on to you very tight for 1 second, and they can just touch your hair. All their behaviors, if you don't understand, can be scary to someone who hasn't got a clue what's going on. I understand that. I get that now. And I think that's why there's so much importance around spreading awareness and talking about it more. And me and my husband are very open about it. There's still some parents out there who are so shy. They won't say their child's autistic. They'll make the child believe that it's something wrong with the child, and then just ignore the fact that there is a neurological condition there that needs to be addressed.
See, what would you say to them kind of parents?
I would say, forget the whole, I don't want to label my child. You need to look at it in a way that, how can my child get the support that they need? So if they understand that they have a neurological condition, that's not bad, it's just different, but they can understand what support they can get. You know, Leah's a very good example about this, because a lot of people meet my daughter and they think, why did you get her a diagnosis? She comes across as a neurotypical child. She's very bright, she's very outspoken, she's very confident. I didn't know
until today.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was only those.
No, but this is...
I didn't know you autistic. I think that was a bit of a...
No, he doesn't believe my...
Throw the hammer in there.
I got my report in the car, by the way. I just got it recently. Anyway,
signed off by Saba herself. No.
Trust me, if I wish I'd known sooner.
There's nothing wrong with you.
See, now, hold on a minute. There's nothing wrong with anyone who's autistic. They're just different. I know.
Yeah, 100%.
This is when you said, tell me off when I say something stupid. You said something stupid. So, okay.
I take my words back. Yeah. All right? Don't shoot me.
It's not a wrong thing. You would be shocked how much I struggle, honestly. You could speak to Najib, he'll tell you all day. I never knew why I struggled.
We husbands always say there's something wrong with our wives.
No, but there's a different way of a kind of, you know, like Najib, you and Najib are very similar in the sense that, you know, you're very good in social situations. You know, you can handle them very well. You can handle yourself. You have a lot of confidence, you know. For someone like me, it takes a lot of prep, man. I got to like really psych myself up. I really need to make sure I've got my stuff. You know, I'm playing with my bracelet. I made sure I'm well fed, because when I eat, I'm very dysregulated when I don't eat. I've noticed that. So I ate before I came. And there's certain things, and what it's essentially about is people can look at you and think, okay, you're normal, but it just takes a lot more prep on our side to then operate better in a society full of neurotypical people.
No, but
so Leah, for example, I'll tell you, right? Okay. I've given you my example for Leah. So you would meet her and you think she's actually fine. So now Leah has a lot of anxiety. So she'll come home and she might get a bit anxious about how a certain person treated her at school, and she might not work in class because the child sitting next to her is too loud. And she would never have expressed any of this if she wasn't so confident about autism. So she, obviously now her teachers know what she's like. They give her the opportunity to go and pick up her ear defender. She puts them on. She has regular movement breaks, because she herself struggles to sit for too long as well. So they let her get up and go for a walk, and then she comes back. All of this is just because the school are aware. of her diagnosis. So she doesn't see it as a negative thing. She sees it as, oh, I'm able to have accommodations that help me. And what does it do? It helps her achieve more. She's now going to sit her 11 plus. And I don't think she could have done that if she didn't have the understanding and compassion from the teachers from school. They've been absolutely amazing. You know, they've been so good because I said to Leah, I said, you need to I didn't do it. And that's the fact of the matter. I used to go to school. I used to feel sick for exams. I used to be anxious about sitting amongst too many people. It was too busy. It was too loud. There was too much light. I had all these issues. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand why I couldn't do it as easy. Everyone else was doing it easily. I in my head was thinking that they look like it's not a big deal. Why am I struggling? I didn't know what it was. And it's only since my children that it even made me look into myself. And then having spoken to my brothers and my mom and my family members. And I've seen a GP who lives with me and he just says, you're so much like your children. Like there was just this, you know, the penny dropped. And there's this moment where I then started to research it. And then it's the best thing I've ever done. Because instead of now
a mild or autism, just a bit of
it's not so autism is a spectrum, so it's not like a low to high, it's more of a round.
Okay.
And you can be within this round thing.
I did say at the start of this podcast, do educate me. So
that's right. No, this is a really.
Why is this guy so?
It's a very common misconception because some people say, oh, she's a bit autistic or she's a lot autistic. That doesn't really exist. It's a round circle. So, you can be placed anywhere here and some people are going to have more needs than others. But generally speaking, the traits are different. No two autistic people are alike. And their struggles won't be the same. Some people are not bothered by bright lights. Some people are not bothered by loud sounds. But some people are bothered by too many people, crowds, and there's just so much knowledge there. And I remember, I really do wish I'd known when I was younger. I think, I know everything happens for a reason, but I'm pretty sure I could have made my life a lot easier in other aspects. I mean, now I know fitness is what helps me. So I'll never, ever leave that. It's the way I regulate. I need that movement for me to then operate.
Quick question. How important has fitness been overall in your daily life?
It's saved me. Hands down, it has saved me. And this is why, I'm really lucky to have a husband who understands that, because he will literally drop everything to let me go gym. Because he knows that I need it. He knows when my wife comes back, she's a better wife. She's a better mom.
Less headache, man.
Less headache, man.
Yeah, go on. Have your 2 hours. I can live with the other 23 hours, no problem. Otherwise, if she doesn't go gym, my next 22 hours are just going to be a headache.
You're joking, but I swear it's true. Like, I'm just less regulated. And he'll notice I'm a bit more edgy. He'll notice that I'm a bit more frustrated.
I'm like
the kids will annoy me. Yeah, the kids will annoy me faster. I come back from the gym, I swear, I feel like Superwoman. I can do anything. In that moment, I'll literally...
Because you've done your bit and that's
I can cook 10 million dishes. I can clean the whole house. I can sort the kids. I'll say to the gym, you don't need to do anything. I got it. That's if after one gym session.
See, he's got it. He just hasn't mentioned it to her just in case you change your routine. So you know what? I've got it good now. 2 hours, cool. Next 22 hours...
I'm chilling. Let her do what she's going to do.
Yeah, let her go. So that's how he's thinking.
It was a big milestone for us to actually be able to join a gym. We just never thought it was ever going to happen, if I'm honest with you. It's like, how are we ever going to have time? So it's honestly, I would say it has saved me. It's my therapy. It's my life. It's a way of life. I don't even think it's a hobby. I don't even think it's a side thing for me. For me, it's as essential as breathing. I know I'm going to wake up. I know I'm going to go gym. I don't even question it. I'll have my clothes ready the night before. I'll have my water ready the night before. I know I'm going to go to the gym. I know that it's something that's essential. It's like, how people have to sleep every day. It's like, I'm going to go gym.
Awesome. And just before we end it, would you want to give any shout outs to people that have helped you in this journey, your child's journey, and, your own, organizations like ABA?
Yeah, so
give them a shout outs.
The company that have worked with my son for the last 5 years are called Head Start. They're absolutely amazing. They have been, I would say, my biggest support network from day one. They have been consistent. He's still got the same consultant to this day. I've got videos of them playing with him when he's 2 and now they play with him when he's 9. And it's just been the most comforting thing. And to every other special need parent out there who I've had a conversation with, they have all helped me in some way or other in just making me feel less alone.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest shout out goes to my husband, because honestly, we do everything together. I genuinely don't think I could do it without him.
I was waiting for that one, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
I was going to pull you up on that one. If you said, yeah, wicked, everyone about great. So what about your husband?
No, he's quiet. He won't really, he doesn't,
I've seen him around the children, and I've spoke to him as well. I says, you know, hats off to you. I don't know.
He's patient. People think I'm patient. And people
he's
say
too patient.
His patience, you know, like I always say to him, his patience is something else.
Yeah, it is.
I people think I'm patient, but obviously because of my own neurological issues, I struggle way more than him. And remember, he's having to deal with 3 people with autism, okay? He's helping me, he's helping Leah, and he's helping Dod. So he's got it the hardest.
And
I put my hands up to him.
Well,
yeah, and he has got to work. And I can see in him that he spends his life just trying to make our lives easier. That's what his purpose in life, you know, like down to like the car I drive, you know, he really thinks about what's going to help me live an easier life, and then helps me help the children. So yeah, he's a huge blessing.
That's
and I think
beautiful.
and I really hope that couples who have got children with autism or any neurological condition or any condition that requires more than the usual attention, like it's a 2-man job, you know, really work together. It needs 2 people. There's a reason, you know, for why you've been given a child, and you need to work together. It's very hard to do it alone.
Well, Saba, we'll definitely do a take 2 on this as well. I've got some other questions regarding the vaccinations and stuff. So because it's that's another
there's just too much to talk about. Yeah. And diet is a huge thing. You can touch on that.
I know. We didn't get to touch up on a lot of things, but I think it's been very, very educational. And people out there who are living with autistic children, I hope they kind of listen to it and kind of get some inspiration from your journey, and how important it is for them to kind of reach out to these professionals and other parents for just that support and help that can make life easier for them. Of course, it's not easy, you know, and nobody wishes anything upon anyone, but it's something from God, and we have to accept that, and we have to be, you know, ready to accept it. And like he says, you know, you've reached out to other people for help, and overall it's made your life easier, because now obviously you know what you're doing. And if you hadn't done that, and like he says, you know, some parents don't like to label their children as autistic or whatever, you just kind of dig in a bigger hole for yourself.
You're going to make it hard for them because they're going to struggle as adults. It doesn't go away.
It just doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away. If you're born with it, you're born with it.
Yeah. But Saba, I wish you all the best in everything that you do. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a lot of fun today.
God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.